Hello, everyone. Christ, I'm several days late on actually doing this like I planned to, but finally getting around to it, and I, rather than deciding to put it up to a poll, decided since my players this weekend were dealing with their crystals for the first time and being introduced to how they work, that today's lore video would be on the living crystals and the crystal singers of Cincope. And some of you may, from the sound of that, go, oh, okay, I know exactly how this is gonna go. But, no. We'll start off with the crystals since they are older, to put it bluntly. The crystals have been around about as long as anyone can remember. The crystals are native to Cincope and are one of the most unusual things to have been birthed in Cincope before the portal incident started happening. They've come in a wide range of species and temperaments and the like, which are normally discerned by coloration and, if you really want to get technical, composition. The main thing that they all share is innate magical ability, rudimentary telepathy in order to communicate emotion and the like, and obviously the fact that they are sentient, alive, all that good jazz. But they are magical, to put it bluntly. If you attack one, it will respond negatively, obviously, which, for obvious reasons, after people found out about their unusual properties, made poaching a thing, and B, made mining and poaching them in general a very, very dangerous event, because where you could get one that is very lax and doesn't care as much or doesn't have as much magical ability, you could very well get a very temperamental crystal that has an obscene amount of magic, and the moment you accidentally stab one of its roots with the pickaxe, it unleashes a bolt of lightning onto you that fries your brain and turns it into soup. So they're an interesting bunch, but they are sentient. So they also come in family bunches, also defined by color. So if you see, say, a bunch of green ones together, they're likely a family. Or if you see a bunch of them that seem to have a base color, they are also likely a family. So say you have a blue one and a purple one next to each other. Good news, those are probably related, so they'll have a actual pull to each other. Bad news, since the first one is blue, the second one also means that it's got red in it, which is likely its temperament or its feeling at the time. It is going to be it is going to be upset, and it is going to be violent because it has that red hue to it now, instead of just being the base blue like its parent or sibling or whatever the other crystal may be. Due to their magic ability and their pull toward their siblings, they were also used in early teleportation methods. Those that knew became poachers, as I established in the previous video, which you can check out up in there. It should show up in the card. Due to how dangerous it was to get a hold of them, and due to how difficult it was to get ones that were more than a little connected to each other without all this risk and whatnot, they were only really housed by very high-ranking officials and very, very rich nobles, unless someone used a base crystal and built their base around it, or decided to build some sort of encampment around it as a base of operations. By sheer accident, though, at first accident, but later it was found out through science. People found out that singing actually could calm and tame the crystals, similar to yodeling in cows, in order to make it to where they aren't as stressed when they're getting milked. Singing to them as they are being extracted could make it to where you could extract them as long as you didn't directly harm the crystal. Could make them far less temperamental and make it to where you could actually harvest them without risk of getting electrocuted or lit on fire or any other number of things. And it made things far more reliable and increased the ability to bring such ability to travel long distances over short time to the populace. Obviously, later down the line, vehicles became a common thing, and obviously no one's going to want to bother with all the freaking deatomization, reatomization, teleportation, but some people got places to be in a very short time and don't feel like being lucky enough to be born in an area with actual aircraft consistency. But later through science, they found out that the singing was because each of them has their own, obviously being crystals, crystalline structure, much like glass or any other crystals in reality. And if you harmonize with the crystal structure, the crystal enjoys it and likes it and calms the crystal so that you can extract it. So crystal singers became a very valuable tool, and even still are today, and are also used in teleportation now, because before, obviously, crystals didn't exactly like being used by people that didn't respect them or didn't offer anything in return, so they would eventually fragment or not. The way that they were used for teleportation wasn't exactly the safest for the crystals, because they didn't want to cooperate, and it was basically you take one of their crystal kids, as it were. You take a smaller crystal from the same family line and use it by basically cramming it into the crystal in order to force it to have a connection to another crystal of its family, which the recipient would have in their location, and you would teleport there. This could also be used to cross-teleport by using a family crystal from another one, which is why crystal fragments and crystal shipments and the like were still needed somewhat frequently, and why crystal poachers, despite everything being so dangerous, never went extinct until crystal singers became like a full-on branch / guild / job. So now, instead of doing all these violent things, the crystal singers sing, and the crystals are like, okay, I can appreciate that. Where do you want to go? And the singers will sort of give the emotion of the kind of location and through their song and send the person to the other crystal. And an interesting note of the living crystals is they reproduce via budding of sorts. Smaller ones of them will go out and break off, and then they'll root themselves around. But if they are brought back, they can root back into their home crystal, and it will grow the original parent crystal, as it were. But that's the long and short of the use of the crystals and the crystal singers. Some very rich nobles use the crystals as lights because, I mean, they produce light based off their emotion. They're good for that. And these crystals actually weren't as offended because they were normally kept with families because same color light across the board. They are amongst peace, and all they really do is they produce light, and they get to enjoy a nice, safe home, and they don't get the other crystals smashed into them. So some nobles actually inadvertently did wind up having positive relations with these crystals. There were obviously various other ways that the crystals were used, and various other forms of such being ground up into various magical imbuements. And despite that, that's not actually from living crystals. The flanned grenade is not living crystal based, despite being covered in crystals. But that is a story for another day, and or possibly even next day that I do this, depending on what everyone else wants to see. But if you enjoyed this and would like to know more about Cincope, feel free to ask any questions about Cincope, or check out the previous video for a basic rundown of my world. But that's going to be it for now. Thank you all so much for watching. Like if you liked, subscribe to join the eggplant patch, and I will see you in the next video, which hopefully I'll have some edits done to this, and then I'll have the appropriate thing for the video that I want to do, because I found some interesting stuff recently, but I'll keep that a secret. But I'm not going to ramble. Bye!